Hi, I'm Matt Grossman, and today I'm going to be showing you a cool and simple circular After Effects intro. It's really easy to do, so let's get into it. Okay, so there are two main parts to this intro. The first here is where there's the circle that kind of draws in the line. And then the second part of this intro is the sphere, where it goes from the outside animating to the inside. And then the third part and the final part is where the background animates from the outside to the inside. So with that said, you kind of get the basic concepts. Now I'm going to jump into After Effects and show you how to do it. Okay, so it's a pretty simple effect. It can be either a transition or just an intro, and so you can either put it at the end or the beginning of your video or in the middle if you want as like a bumper. It's pretty simple, so let's just jump into it. First, we're going to want to create an ellipse, and then to make sure that everything's perfectly centered, you just double click on the ellipse, and then we go into the ellipse path and change the size. Unclick the little 1080, there we go. Then we can re-click it if we want, and then resize this to be smaller, about like that. That looks good. I'm going to rename this circle. We can change the stroke. Actually, I want it to be black. Change the fill. I actually want to get rid of the fill, so make the fill none. And then I'm going to change the background. I'm going to create a new solid, make it white, just so we can see what we're doing. So we can see here, I'm going to add an effect over here, effects and presets, radial wipe right here. And then you can see when we animate the completion of the effect, it kind of wipes the circle off the screen. So I'm going to change this from clockwise to counterclockwise. We're going to want the effect to start at 100% and then animate to 0%. So it'll start as invisible, and then as it animates to 0%, it'll animate on. Okay. So we'll go here into effects, radial wipe. You can see here transition completion. So we want that to start here at 100%. And then go figure about a second is good. Make that 0. Animates on just like so. But the motion there is kind of boring, so we'll go here, go keyframe assistant, easy ease, or you could just hit F9. I'm gonna go here to the graphic editor and make sure it says edit speed graph, otherwise you can't really ramp the speed like this. And so we want our effect to kind of start out quick, but then take more time when slowing down. So we're just gonna drag this right one in. You can drag this one in a little bit. So you can see it's gonna go really fast and then slow down. So this just gives our animation a little bit of more personality than just animating from 0 to 100. Okay, that looks good. I'm gonna save really quick. So now we have this circle portion of the animation done. Next, we need to do the second part, which is where it animates from the outside in. Okay, so I just dropped in this gradient right here on top. If you want, you can make yours just a solid, but I'm gonna make mine a gradient just to add a little bit of interest. So this is gonna go right here. I wanna use this. Okay, so next what we wanna do is create a mask that is the same size as this circle. So I think I did a pretty good job of it right there. Kind of use the arrow keys to adjust it to get it perfect. And and that looks pretty good. So then when we turn it back on, you can see what we have so far. And then I actually want to scale this up a little bit just to make it maybe 58. Move it over a little bit. Perfect. Okay. So that looks good so far. And then to get this to animate from the outside to the inside, we are just going to take this circle, hit Command D to duplicate it, call this fill matte. And then what we're going to want to do is make the fill white, make the stroke, actually we want to make the stroke not there. Perfect. And then we kind of want to make this scale to be maybe 110, actually 105 should do the trick. Yep. And then if we hide these two layers, we can see this animates in. Right when it finishes, we want to have the fill start to animate in. So we're going to have it start here, and then at 2 seconds, we want it to finish. So 0%, because we want it to animate from the outside to the inside. We're going to turn on our gradient layer and then make it alpha inverted matte. And so what this is going to do is you'll see that our so the radial wipe is still applied to this effect, so we just kind of want to delete that. Here we go. So you can see the effect animates in, the line animates in, and then this animates from the outside in. Gonna want to do, again, easy ease, keyframe assist, easy ease. Go into the graph editor, make sure it's set to a speed graph. And then under scale, just adjust it to start out, quick, and then slow down. So we can preview our animation so far. Seems like it started a little bit too fast. So maybe like that. What about like this? Perfect. Looks good. And then to get our logo in there, I have my logo right here. Gonna drag it in. Gonna have to scale it down quite a bit. Place it here in the middle position. It's gonna be 960 and 540. It's perfectly centered. Scale it up to your liking. And then to make this work, I'm gonna go to a fill effect. Drop that on here. Make the fill color be white. Drag this right on top of our fill matte, or on top of our gradient. You can twirl that down. And then we want it to be in alpha matte. Actually, no, alpha inverted matte. A gradient. Perfect. And then these we can pre-compose and just call this circle fill logo. and then call this, make it alpha inverted for that. And now, line animates in, top part animates in again with the background gray. Okay, for some reason my matte was working weird, but I fixed it, so now when this animates in, you will be able to see this line animates in, and then when this animates in, whatever is behind it is just this background. So if I turn off the gray solid, white will be behind it. So just whatever I put behind it, it could be a picture, it could be a video, if you want to do the transition, whatever's behind it will just be there. So now we're gonna make the background animate in. Now, to make the background animate in, we're gonna wanna create this solid, and then we're gonna duplicate this. We're just gonna create a new ellipse again. We do not wanna do that. Okay, so to create this background animating, we're gonna wanna double click on the ellipse tool, so it'll create a new shape layer. We're just gonna create this, call this background matte. And then go into the ellipse path, unclick the chain link, make it 1080. And then actually we want to make it, so it's just, we're now going to change this one to 1920. And then we're just going to go into the scale it up until you can see the corners. You know, the entire thing is covered by the matte. Move this over the dark gray solid. We're going to want to make it an alpha inverted matte. And then scale it from 100 to then 0. We're gonna right click, keyframe assist, easy ease, go into the speed graph and maybe make it, actually we wanna make it like this. There we go. And then now you can see, if we watch it, circle animates in, that animates in, and then the background animates in. And we want to have this kind of like this. Probably spread it out because it looked like it was a little bit too fast. Have it start right about then. Perfect. And then, if we want to make the entire thing, then animate out for the transition, we'll go ahead to where we think is good. So maybe about here. And then we're going to pre-compose this entire thing. Pre-compose and just call it logo animation. Also, I want to turn that on just so you can see in the beginning the transparency, and then it animates out. And then we go to, here's the circular After Effects intro. We're going to want to go double click on our pre-comp and this background matte, copy it, and then we could go back into the intro, paste it on top, and then here we want to go alpha matte, and then we can go into scale and just reverse these two keyframes. So you can see here it actually, you can see here we don't even need to reverse the keyframes. So we just paste that. We want to kind of extend it. You can see here, you can see the stuff animate in. Turn on transparency so you can see what's going on. So it's completely transparent, line animates in, the logo animates in, and then you want to go to about where you think is good, like maybe here, and then have it animate out. Perfect. Pull this to be here, and then just hit Command S, and at this point you want to make sure that that is on. If you want to render it with transparency, go to Export, Add to Render Queue, double click here where it says Lossless. You want to go into where it says RGB and change it to RGB plus alpha. And then whatever export settings you want, I'm just going to do QuickTime. That looks good. Choose your output option where you want to export to. Right here, perfect, save, render it. That's how you're gonna do your After Effects intro or transition with your transparency. From this point, you can just drag and drop it into Premiere Pro or your editing software of choice, and it can be your transition. Thanks for watching. If you made it this far, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you want more tutorials like this. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments down below. My tutorial may not have been the best, but this is the first one I've done, so they will get better the more that I do. Yeah.